Just shared it over on YouTube. Good morning, afternoon. I think it's afternoon, everybody. It is another Thursday, August 15th. I'm Dr. Paula Ruffin. This is Chiropractic is Sexy, and I'm here with...
I'm Dr. Erica Peabody, and you're making me look pretty white today.
Well, I was actually just going to say, I'm like, why am I so red? Like, I have my lights aren't working. I feel like I'm red.
You're like super tan.
I am tan, but I feel like and I'm wearing a red dress.
That might be it.
Yes. I went to a groundbreaking for...
Oh yeah, how did that go?
It was great. It was great. And I accidentally wore a red dress.
It's for Coca-Cola bottling.
Yeah, I totally, I was like, well, I wanted to stand out because I wanted to meet some people and make some connections. And then I get there and everybody's like, oh my God, you wore the right dress. Oh my God. Like, people are going to think I work here.
That's so funny. Mm-hmm. Well, always good to make connections with your community, of course.
For sure. Yeah. It's going to be a really great addition to our community. So we're pretty darn excited. So
yeah, that's awesome. When do they open?
What's that?
When do they open?
It'll be next. They want to be running by next fall.
Okay.
So today was just the groundbreaking. They've been moving the ground, they've been prepping the ground.
Did you get a shovel and dig?
I didn't get to handle the shovel. Unfortunately, I was like, oh man, that would have been so fun if I could have been there. So, or if I could have did the shovel part, but no, just the trustees, not the DDA people. So just the trustees, but, but as a DDA board member, was the privilege of being able to attend that because not just anybody can go to that. So so that was super cool. So yeah,
cool.
Neat. Great way to start the day. And so let me fix that. All right. I don't know if that changed my lighting at all. I see you brought a friend with you today.
Me. Oh, my hair.
Your bun.
It's really a whole mood.
It's a whole nother human. It's like when I sweep from my dog.
It's a lot. Thank you for noticing.
Oh, goodness.
Yes. So I was just thinking, one of the principles that, well, we can talk about the principle, but one of the things that I've been watching for you is your decluttering of your office. And I saw some pictures or something you posted the other day, or maybe it was a video. And oh my gosh, I was just thinking about that and how it relates to our health, like just the health of your building, the health of all of that. And not that mine doesn't need to be done. I just haven't dug in to your level that you've done lately. But I was just thinking about clearing the clutter and how that relates to health and that video that you had shared. So you want to talk about that to start with?
Yeah, I'd love to because it also, and what the video was, and you guys can refer back to it. And I think I have a short on YouTube, but it might be there already. I don't know if I've edited it, but it'll be there. But so the backstory is I've been in practice 26 years and I have boxes and boxes of records that I hadn't had shredded. They're still here. So as doctors, we are obligated by law to keep our records for 7 years. So I was in another office. So I've been here 4 years. Well, prior to being in this office, my other office, I was there 19 years. So I had records, but I had nowhere to store them. So I had pulled 16 and 17, anyway, 30 some boxes from my attic and my garage because that's where they were being stored because I didn't have storage space in that old building. So when I moved here, I didn't even think to bring them over here because I was like, oh my God, that's going to be so much work. Right. But then I still had a whole bunch of other records that got stored in the basement. So I've never gotten rid of anything because then a few years ago, I called a shredding company and you had to have some ungodly amount of documents. It was really expensive. And I was like, how am I going to get rid of these documents? Yeah. So then a good friend of ours suggested that I call the shredding company again. So I called a couple of places and I found this place and they came out and I had in total 35 boxes because I had a lot of like half filled boxes the way I had them filed alphabetically. So I consolidated everything. So 35 boxes, it cost me $205, like out the door. And he was in and out of here in 20 minutes. And he took x-rays, like he took everything. it was so cleansing. So the video was just talking about this physical clutter, what it does to your mental emotional state. It's energy. It's like stuck energy. And again, the problem is that we are obligated to keep these records. Well, now most of us are digital,
Right.
so we can get rid of these paper documents. So that's not going to happen again to that level, which is great. But it got me thinking that it's chaos, right? So it's physical chaos. And I equated that to how most people come into our offices and they have neurological chaos. And that it takes a while. Like it's been a few weeks that I've been clearing the boxes from the office. I had to consolidate, getting people in here to help me move the boxes up. Now I have to get the empty boxes and get rid of them. I have hanging file folders. I probably have a Staples store full of hanging file folders. So if anyone needs them, you can come by and get them. They're yours. But now it's the cleanup of it. So it's not like this was an overnight process. And so we have this neurological clutter. And that what we do as chiropractors is we clear that neurological clutter so that it expresses more bandwidth and clarity inside your body. Imagine, and it's still kind of a mess back there. I'm having to apologize to people still because my daughter's coming in this afternoon. So she's going to take care of, again, it's a process. And no one expects me to have had it done overnight. So no one expects you to be 100% healthy after one adjustment. Only you do. Right. Not you, Dr. Erica.
Right. Yeah. Sometimes patients do. Yeah, for sure. And it is such a process. And one of the analogies that I always use for when people start getting adjusted, because sometimes they'll come in and after their second or their first visit or second visit, sometimes the first few, they're like, I actually feel worse. And it's not quote unquote normal. It's common. And the analogy that I love to use is just like you're doing, and I have to do a little bit more this weekend at my home, is when you clean out your garage, you have to take the cars out, take the blah, 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 get the bikes out, get all this stuff out, spread it out, make a humongous mess, and then you start reorganizing. And it's such the greatest analogy. That's why I was, as you were sharing, even over our personal videos too, it's like I can literally feel the health of your space improving. And there's no possible way to do that all over one time. And I'm thinking deeply about what's going to go ahead in this weekend for me, because the weather's not supposed to be nice. It's a Michigan summer, but when the weather's nice, we're all outside. There's no going inside. Like that's not even allowed.
Right.
But this weekend, I'm just thinking about all the ways, like I need to pull some things out, reorganize, shift it around, clear out. I've been trying to go through my closet. I go through it a lot. I try to go through it a number of times, and I'm going to go back through it with a fine-tooth comb this weekend. What else can I clear so that I can make space for what's moving ahead for me? Just meaning like just personal energetic space where I get to step in and step just to the other side for whatever reason. And I don't know if it's in the stars or what's going on, but normal people do spring cleaning, right? But for whatever reason right now feels so right, so on time for this cleaning and clearing. So yeah, it's been really great to watch you, and it inspires me. Yeah, a lot.
Well, and I use that analogy too but I use it for the closet. It doesn't matter what you're clearing out. And also the awareness or lack of awareness. So you start with the garage or your closet, whatever it is. And suddenly you turn around and you go, when did a bomb go off?
Yeah.
And again, there's so many analogies to our health, is that you suddenly get into crisis and you're like, how did I get here? What the heck happened? And it was all of the clutter that got built up that is now you're attempting to purge, and now something's like seriously broken.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure that we get to those places before the crisis. So, and I love what you're saying. I try to do that too, where it's like, if it's a rainy days are a closet, a drawer, it's something. Like I'm clearing something at all times. Why do I have stuff to clear at all times? I don't know. I wish I didn't.
Yeah.
I would like to take my house and just turn it upside down and shake it out into a giant dumpster and then go on with life.
Yeah.
But we have to recognize that, yes, it gets a little bit worse before it gets better. It always looks worse. I shouldn't say it always does, but it can feel worse. People can feel more tired because we're releasing toxins into the bloodstream from the spine that have been bound up and locked for years. You might feel stiff or sore. You might get a headache. I mean, it's so very different for everybody. But the bottom line is that if you don't purge the chaos, it will continue to worsen. And we want your bodies to be expressing health and life all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I was talking to a patient the other day, and it was like, she said, I've been on vacation. I had a vacation, then a half a week home, and then another vacation. And I said, what I really love to do? I love to, and if you think about this ahead of time, and, now that we're going into the school year, which I think we should probably bring up, I don't know, this time, we're going to run out of time really fast, but just all of the ways that we can prep for the chaos ahead and prep for the vacations ahead, and then regroup afterwards. It's just so critical. And I just told her, I said, I just do my best to really cut back. No vacation eating, no vacation drinking is ever worth the toxicity on the other side of it. And, people put on 5-10 pounds in a week just because of inflammation. Yeah. So
that's the average at the holidays is people gain 5 pounds. Like, how's it even possible?
It's really wild. And I really feel that as we're headed back into the school year, I've been talking to the patients a lot about how can you prepare your life to actually win the school year this year. It doesn't mean that you're not going to run into chaos. It just means that we're not going to feel motivated. So how can we create areas and times and places that where we can be disciplined with our routine so that we continue to move forward in a really great way? So,
yeah, well, and that goes back to, so when I do Reset Monday, but then what did I do? Yep. I did Preset Monday for, maybe it was the 4th of July holiday. So I think we could easily talk about presetting and resetting for those things. And we can talk about it now, or unless you had something else to.
Yeah, I did. So we ran into this really interesting character over the weekend. And
okay. So put that in our notes. Preset, reset.
Preset, reset.
And I feel like presetting and resetting is something that we could even just speak on for a minute in every episode. But
absolutely, it always applies.
But don't derail, for sure.
Yeah, no, the one thing. Okay, so we're getting to the principle really quick, just so I can bring this in. So the normality of innate intelligence. Innate intelligence is also always normal, and its function is always normal. So as we're looking through this, and especially healing can feel like something's going on with my body, and now it feels like this, and it's doing this, and I can't get through this, and it's inhibiting me in this way and this way. It's always normal. It's just that it's compensated inside of what it's doing. Like it's always working to our benefit. So anyway, innate intelligence is always normal, as function is always normal, which is returning us to equilibrium, even though it may feel like a complete mess. So,
so don't think, so when your body is, just to spin off of that.
Yeah.
So people are like, something's wrong with my body. That's the alarm bells. Your body's doing exactly what it's supposed to be doing. That is, what it's doing is normal, whether sickness and in health, but it's doing what its normal function is in the face of chaos. And so if we can reduce the chaos, then we can change that level of normality, I guess, right?
Yeah. Always trying to return to homeostasis. The body's always doing the best it can with what it's got, which brings me to this point. So we met a really interesting high level dancer over the weekend at this event that we were at. We were both together, and he came in with a friend of hers, but okay. So he is apparently world champion ballroom dancer, right? So now the conversations progressed, and it was a little too work related for what Dr. Paula and I really appreciate over the weekend. But in listening to this guy, he has severe sciatica, and now he said, I've seen 5 different chiropractors and nobody's helping, and I've been under chiropractic care for a long time, but a lot of people will wait until there's some severe symptom, try and whack it down with 5 to 10 adjustments, and miss out on world championship, or miss out on their Olympic event, or miss out on something else, or what have you. And this is our call to get chiropractic care way before there's any symptom going on. This thing for him, and I don't know how long he's been dancing, and I don't know his whole story, and he has many stories.
Oh, we don't know his whole story? I don't know. I
Yeah,
feel
we
like
know
we know
some of
his whole
story.
story.
It'll be nice. We do know some of his story, but we don't know everything. I don't know how long he's been dancing. I don't know how long he's been dealing with sciatic pain. But when we're sitting down at dinner and somebody wants to talk with us about pain, both of us are like, we're not on right now. I understand, you could call the office, blah, blah, blah. But that's not what we really want to talk about, but we weren't allowed to not. And so as I was listening to him, though, he says to me at the very end of the night, I can't remember if it was third or fourth world championship to win. And I'm not sure if surgery is what I need to have right now in order to get to that place where he gets to win again. Now, this man is driven. That's what he does professionally. This man is driven by the accolades inside of that. So I want to ask this question. What are you driven by, and what is it going to take for you to start to tend now? I'm not saying that he didn't, but whacking it out with 5 to 10 adjustments when it's in so severe that he's like, I don't know if I need to go in for surgery. Can I drive up and see you? I'm 45 minutes. It's not that I don't have patients driving 45 minutes, but to get the repeat amount of care that's necessary, like I really would like you to find somebody closer. But the whole thing is that people in general, we will all eventually miss out on something that really freaking matters because our body was whispering, and then it's louder, and then it's louder, and then it's screaming and debilitating. And we're all headed in that direction in one way or another. And I want to ask you, what would it take for you to get on board now instead of waiting for that? So anyway, I just wanted to bring that story in with this, just because not only was it a little bit off-putting because we weren't on, but also when I listened in, this man is really suffering. Can we keep him out from under the knife?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think also we talked about, you and I talked about, he was telling us a story about how he, hey Kenny, how are you? How he went to a chiropractor who used the drop table. So for anybody who's not familiar, there's, I'll call it a traditional lower back adjustment, for lack of a better term, where we put you up on your side and it's called side posture. And you might hear clicking and popping. Hey, Uncle Al. And then there's the drop table, and the drop table is you're lying flat, face down, and then the pelvic piece lifts and we push on you and it goes ka-chunk. You don't go ka-chunk, the table makes a noise. And then the other thing is, and there's many techniques, mm-hmm. But I would say these are the top 3 that Dr. Eric and I utilize. So side posture adjustment, the drop table, and then we have the activator, and the activator is the little clicky device, it's a beautiful tool. So all of those, and I make sure that I'm always explaining all 3 things, and I'll get back to what he was commenting about. So the chiropractic adjustment, that we call that an osseous adjustment. So you hear clicking and popping, cracking, right? That's what people refer to as cracking. You hear that. That stimulates joint receptors. It increases blood flow. It increases endorphins. So your feel-good hormones. It helps with inflammation, helps with pain. When we use the drop table, we're relying on the vibration of the table to stimulate joint receptors, to increase blood flow, to increase endorphins, to decrease inflammation and pain. When we use the activator, that's also a vibration. That vibration goes in a very strategic place in order to decrease inflammation, decrease pain, and stimulate nerve flow. So they're all doing the exact same thing in a very different way. I tell my patients it's the different ways of getting at the same end result, which is stimulate nerve flow, get the nervous system communicating with clarity, and help your body to heal itself, period. Some of those, depending on the person, sometimes people respond better to one way or another. Mm-hmm. So he said he went to a chiropractor that was using the drop table. And he said he only went, 3 or 4. He went a few times. And he said, and I never heard a crack, so it wasn't working. Now, I'll tell you this. There are multiple times I've done side posture on people, have not gotten a crack, And it still works because guess what? When we go like that, we stimulate nerve receptors. Every kind of force, every kind of movement, pressure, touch, all of that stimulates the nervous system. So just because you don't hear a crack doesn't mean it's not working. Mm-hmm. But I think in his mind that because he wasn't getting a crack, he was, and he might be a guy, like his lower back might be so hard to move side posture. You have to put him on the drop table. Mm-hmm. That's why we have the tool.
For different reasons, it could be completely contraindicated too. And
sure, so absolutely. We don't know what he's got going on.
Yeah, we don't know. So yeah.
So so we wanted to bring that up is that just because, and maybe that wasn't the technique for him either. But if we run down the middle, now my preferred way to adjust somebody is side posture. Then I go to the drop, then I go to the activator. So that's my hierarchy. Mm-hmm. But usually if somebody has a really tough low back or they've got some contraindication into putting them up on their side and doing a little more rotation, they have to go into the drop. So to your point, Erica, that might be the only way to do it. And maybe that technique is going to take longer for him. Mm-hmm. That technique might be the best way and fastest way for someone else. But this is why every single body and nervous system is so very different and unique. And we have multiple tools to get you there. So he's got to give it the time. And especially at a high level, he didn't just learn to dance overnight. So it's got to be very ongoing for him. And he might need a higher frequency, something more intense. We don't know. We're not his doctors. So that's another reason why it's really hard when we go out socially. People want to get free advice from us, and we don't know you.
I don't know you. I don't have any idea what you've done. But the other part, it was so interesting to walk away that night because it was like, I may be headed in for surgery if I can't get, well, who's to say that that's going to solve it?
Yeah.
Like, who's to say that once you cut, that's going to solve whatever this issue is? So over a dinner table, it was impossible to know what's going on with the spine, what his history is. I mean, we have a little idea, a little flavor of who he is and some of the things he does with his body, but there's so many things involved. Mm-hmm. And it's one of those things, like, we cannot wait until we're about to not even be able to go into the world championship for our passion. Or
and he also, go ahead, sorry.
Not even be able to pick up grandkids or kids or drive around or make it to a work event. Like, I had a patient who I've told her for years, you don't get a chance to not come in. And so she comes and goes, which I'm okay with working with her because it's always like a episode that happens. But when she travels and she's going all the way to California and she's doing, and I can't remember exactly what it was like a wedding in combination with, somebody was getting a big award, like a father-in-law or something was happening. She ended up being basically held up in a hotel room because with the travel, with the things she was trying to do, it just set her so far back that now, instead of having regular care to keep her ahead of life in general, it wasn't. And so therefore, the entire 5 days she was out in California trying to do all these wonderful things and participate, she was unable to move her body at all. So I'm just a little bit, I feel a little soapboxy, but it's like, what are we waiting for? Because our spine and nervous system is the most important thing. It's the most important thing in our entire body.
Well, so two things. So, and one thing also just with his history is he grew up riding horses.
Oh.
No one who's ridden horses has ever, I hope this doesn't sound like a double entendre, but it's going to. No one who's ridden horses has never not fallen off a horse, right?
Yes.
So the question is how many times? So we're talking serious physical trauma. We don't know if he's had emotional trauma in his life, but that kind of physical trauma alone, we don't know what kind of scar tissue is built up or anything. And so that regular taking care of yourself, even chiropractically, movement, sleep, all the things we talk about. And I can't remember, Erica, so this happened last summer. I know I told you about it, but I I don't know that we talked about it on this show, but when I fell outside the back
Yeah.
of my office, and it was slippery, it had rained, I was in my Crocs, and I walked out, and my right leg went under me. My toe was flexed forward, so I slammed down on my toe, slammed down on my knee, my elbow hit, I cut my shin. I felt like, I mean, it was seriously physically traumatic. It was bad. And I had to sit and take inventory for a minute. And I got up and I was like, kind of like shallow breathing, like I was in shock for a little bit. I had to go to I still went down to the pet store. I walk in and I was like, what's his name? The principal at the end of Ferris Bueller's Day Off. He's like, his clothes are shredded and he's bleeding. He's the dog, but and he's like, what's going on with you? I'm like, I just fell. He's like, are you okay? I'm like, I'm not really sure yet. And in 1 week from that day, I was supposed to be taking my daughter to Arizona to school. And we were going to be hiking and doing all kinds of epic things. Plus I had to travel, and could I even walk through an airport? Like, all these things are going through my head. But I leaned into, so first of all, I practiced what I preach. I was healthy going into a trauma. And then I like doubled down on my fluid intake, my nutrition, my sleep, my rest, my nutrients. I think I went and I got a nutritional IV because it was stressful. I made sure my sleep was on deck. And 7 days later, I was, 4,000 feet up on a mountain doing a hike, pain-free, just about. But that can't happen to the normal average person would have been in surgery with a torn ACL or something. Right. Thank God yoga, because I can flex. Not only can I flex my knee like that, but I can slam down on it and not tear anything. Right. So this is why we talk about movement and making sure that you have that, you maintain that. If you don't have the flexibility, you've got to work on it now in some capacity.
Yeah. People, they come in and they're like, I've never been flexible. I'm like, it's important to start today. Let's start today then.
Just start today. Absolutely. Yeah.
I've never been able to touch my toes. Well, keep working on it every day. Yeah. That's not, your excuses don't work here. Basically, that's why I tell my patients all the time. I'm like, your excuses don't work here.
What do you always say? I'm not a bakery. I'm not here to sugarcoat anything.
Definitely not.
Yeah, Ed Rooney for sure. Yeah, I was literally Ed Rooney. Kenny remembers. I think I was messaging with Kenny that day, and I was like, Kenny, like I didn't know who to talk to. I was like, Kenny, I'm dying right now. Something happened. Something really bad happened. But and also as we get older, our risk of falling, our risk of injuries gets greater. And not even that, but if you don't have the tank filled with the energy to heal, now you get injured, and it's just that much longer. And we know as we get older, it sucks to get injured. I mean, I wake up every morning and my shoulders hurt, my knees hurt, but I get up and I move, and it's a non-issue for me, because I don't want to say it's part of aging, but as women, and we lose estrogen, and it's anti-inflammatory, and I recognize that some of these things are part of getting older, but I refuse to say I just have to live with it. I just continue to fill the tank, because I want to be better today than I was yesterday. So yeah, we were messaging literally moments after that. Yeah, thank you for being there for me, Kenny, always. I know.
That's great.
So, but that's why, we will only want the best for you guys. So that's why we, bring this up. So, so going back to this guy, we don't know the traumas. And he's probably incredibly flexible, but he's still, because of his traumas, he's having all of these deep-seated issues. So it's a matter of the commitment. I said last week, how long does it take? The rest of your life. Right? The rest of your life. That's how long it takes. So
absolutely
tap into it now,
Yep. Yeah. And keep the so the innate intelligence is always normal, and the function is always normal. But the innate intelligence moves along our spine and nervous system, and it's that information superhighway. So we clear the clutter out of there, which, a lot of my patients, they're weekly patients that have been in for, I don't even know how long. I've been in practice 20 years. I'm like, is that right? It is
crazy.
And I say it all the time, and I'm like, how?
I know. How?
But they've been with me for a
Yeah.
decade and a half or more.
Yeah.
And they're in.
Some people are listening to us.
They're in weekly. They are in
Well,
weekly.
and my patient who's been with me for 18, 19 years, who comes in every 2 to 3 weeks, and he's a farmer. And last summer, he started having shock-like pains down both legs. That is an immediate red flag. That is stenosis. That I was like, we need to get you an MRI. Now he's been under care for, let's say at that time, 17, 18 years. But I said, you're no longer in maintenance. We're going back we have to come back high frequency. It's now been it's been since last October. But he's better, you guys. Mm-hmm. The surgeon wanted to do surgery and go in and put a cage around his spine and fuse his spine. He's a farmer. He owns his own business. He can't afford that time. Mm-hmm. So he was like, Doc, tell me what I have to do. And I'm like, I need you here 3 days a week until I tell you not to be.
Yeah.
And we did cold laser. I sent him to another chiropractor friend of mine who does decompression. So he was going there twice a week. He was coming here 2 to 3 times a week. So when he would go there, I gave my colleague, I'm like, you adjust him. Like this was not about me and making money. This was about making sure that this guy gets the best level of care he possibly can. Mm-hmm. So he's now on maintenance at Dr. Weiss's office, and he's now once a week after 20 years. Like mm-hmm. that's maintenance for some people. That's high frequency for some people.
Right.
But that's what it took. And he was like, I'll do whatever I have to do. So, we're not saying that once we get you to a certain place, you're also going to stay in that certain place. We have to tap in sometimes.
Right. Well, yeah. And I tell patients, like, everything that got you to this point is still, you don't get to leave the office after your visits and change your job and change your family and change the commute you have or your mm-hmm. long hours sitting or whatever got you to that place. We don't get to change a lot of that. We don't get to wrap you in bubble wrap and send you out into the world. So the stresses are constantly building and bombarding the system on a regular basis, so that weekly, in fact, like 3 minutes before we jumped on here, one of my chiropractors she's like, I just pulled into your office. Can I come in? I'm like, I absolutely hate saying no, but you have to come back later. I'm like, can you come back at 3? Because I'm about to pop on. Like, this is part of, like, Dr. Paula and I have taken this part of our week as really duty to not only to you, but also to our profession and to our own practices, that we're here and we're talking the tick, but also that we're talking health and wellness and life and living. And so I'm like, I would never say no to an adjustment ever. And I just know, like, this is our dedicated time to you guys. And, I also am pretty boundaried with my time in general. So anyway, it's good. I'll get adjusted this afternoon. But I get adjusted every week for sure.
And you're going to adjust me tomorrow when I come up there. So,
yes.
So we get to hang out tomorrow.
That's right.
It's going to be super fun. Yeah, it's going to be great.
Yeah.
But yeah, so getting adjusted, I got adjusted yesterday. I'll be a little full disclosure. I skipped a couple of weeks of getting adjusted, and I feel it. Now, why did I skip that? Because Wednesdays have been weather-wise my best day to get on my mountain bike, and I'm trying to get 2 rides in a week. So I'm getting up and I'm going in the complete opposite direction of the chiropractor that I'm seeing, other than when I make it up to an hour north of me, Dr. Erica. So this opposite direction is nowhere near her, or else I would piggyback it. But to get out and be on my bike and be in the woods and be in nature, that's my joy, right? Yeah. So I wasn't necessarily, nothing can replace the adjustment, but it wasn't like I was not getting adjusted because I wasn't doing something other,
Right.
something
Right.
else that wasn't great
Right.
for my body. Right.
Yeah.
So,
Adding to your your resilience tank,
yeah.
into your
Yep.
savings account.
So I definitely, but I definitely was feeling it in my neck. I know my shoulder starts to kick in. And oh God, he gave me a great adjustment yesterday. So I was very happy to get adjusted. Yeah, I don't ride. No, I drive to Fenton, Kenny. I do not ride my bike to Fenton.
No.
You know,
People do. People actually go. So like the road bikers, they come up from Waterford, Milford, sometimes all the way from Clarkston. There's a couple of really awesome restaurants, and they're kind of used to that bike cycle, pun intended there, right? So that they come up and they do breakfast at the Laundry in particular, or Crest, and then jump back on their bikes. So there's the people doing the 50-mile or the Century on a weekend. Fenton's one of the spots because we're like 20 miles or we're 40 miles or whatever. So we're like a great halfway point for a lot of the Detroit suburb area. So, or greater Detroit area, I should say.
Yeah. I don't even think I liked doing those rides when I was like younger. Like
they're out there doing it.
Yeah. And God bless them, which I think too, I think about being on my mountain bike. And when we talk about exercise and what's, high intensity training, cardiovascular, zone 2 training, power, like being on the bike, being on the mountain bike gives me all of that. If I'm on a road bike, you're just cruising. And some people like that too. I like that change in terrain, because then I feel like I'm maximizing all the possible workouts that could benefit my body in that one time, and 10 to 15 miles, I'm good. Like it's an hour and a half. Time is very valuable to me these days. So it's you make these, I don't even want to call it a trade-off, but it's where I've found my sweet spot, I guess. Right. So, yeah.
Well, awesome. Well, we should wrap this up. So just wanted to repeat this. The normality of the innate intelligence is always normal, and the function is always normal. And I think that, the more we can respect that information superhighway, our spine, and take care of that, then the stronger, healthier, and, longer our body will last and build resiliency there. So I just love that so much.
Yeah. So listen to what your body is saying.
Yeah.
Don't wait. Even those slight things that, nope, don't wait. So
then 28, the conductors of the innate force. The forces of innate intelligence operate through and over the nervous system in animal bodies. It's so good. I know. And not that really like super drives our conversation, but it just is like, thank you for bringing us all the way back. And you know what? We could go right back to number 1 as soon as we're done.
I know.
Start all over again, because it's constantly and continuously relevant.
Yeah.
Constant.
And we'll have new stories. That's the thing.
For sure. Yeah.
We'll have new and different. So we could just do that. We could just call this the 33 principles of chiropractic is sexy, and just keep doing it.
I know, truly, because it just,
we have so much. I know, no kidding. So
anyway,
thank you guys so much for joining us. We will see you. We'll see you next week. I'm having tech issues at home. I don't know. I'm going to try to be live on Sunday, but if anybody was live with me last week, you saw it was a disaster. Apparently all of my computers, the hard drives are full, and even this one that I'm on. So I'm lucky to be getting some bandwidth. So I'll be getting everything fixed in the next couple of weeks, but I may just try to go live on my phone. I don't know. We'll see. You may see me Sunday, but if not, I'll make an announcement. Okay. All right, you guys. Thank you so much. Love you so much for being here. Thank you all for joining and supporting. We appreciate you so much. Talk to you soon.